Recorded live in beautiful Colorado, USA. Broadcast around the world. You're listening to the Quarterly Review Podcast. Produced by Three Angels Message Ministry. Your host is Tamara Rookdashel.
Welcome to the Quarterly Review Podcast produced by Three Angels Message Ministry. I'm your host, Tamara Rookdashel, and today is Wednesday, July 31st, 2019. This quarter is titled The Least of These. Today we will be looking at the book of and prophecies of Ezekiel. If you have the printed booklet, please follow along. Otherwise, I'll do my best to cover everything. Let us begin with a word of prayer. Father and Creator of all, thank you for the concept of forgiveness. It runs so contrary to the secular viewpoint that vengeance is more virtuous than forgiveness. They do not understand salvation or the concept of eternity. It is because of these types of blind accusations that the world doesn't know you. How can it love us if it doesn't know you, whom we represent? For no one has ever been hurt or caused pain that you were not hurt, that you were not caused pain. We all are made in your image. Your breath animates and sustains us. And if you were to leave us, we would cease to live. Never let your children, and those who are learning what claiming that birthright truly means, ever take for granted the intimate link between the creatures of the earth that draw breath and you, our Creator, that provides these lives we use our free will to shape. Thank you for continuing to remind us what is good and what is evil. You know how easily we forget, how easily distracted we are, and how young and naive we tend to be, even more so when we think we are so cunning and wise. Your judgment is mercy, and all those who call upon you look forward to the day when we are redeemed and rescued from the treachery of sin and temptation to stray from you. Thank you for keeping such a close eye on us and a strong hand to provide peace in times of terrible storms. Open our minds to true wisdom so we stop fighting to have our own way and seeking creative ways to destroy ourselves and others. We wait upon the restoration of all good things to your original plan. Thank you for being our Creator and our God. Send us as emissaries in Yeshua's name. We praise you, love you, and thank you. Amen. If you do not have a printed quarterly workbook, we recommend writing down and looking up the Bible text in your own Bible, regardless of whether we read the entire text to you or only refer to it. There is a blessing in you reading the scriptures for yourself. It is also recommended that you write down your answers to the questions so that they inspire further thought, to inspire action, to inspire change in your life and the lives of those you may impact. For your use, or if you lead out in a small group or Bible study, we have made available a free PDF download of just the questions for each week, available within our blog post. Wednesday, July 31st, Ezekiel. If we were to ask a group of Christians about the sins of Sodom, chances are many would launch into a description of its various sexual sins and other forms of depravity. After all, Genesis 19, 1 through 13 does depict a sick and warped society more than ripe for destruction. Interestingly enough, though, the answer is more complicated than just that. Consider Ezekiel's description. Quote, "Now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy." End quote. Ezekiel 16:49 NIV. Though clearly the Lord was not going to overlook the other forms of depravity found in the city, Ezekiel's focus here was on economic injustice and a lack of care for those in need. Could it be that, in the eyes of God, these economic sins were just as bad as the sexual ones? Coming after the time of Amos, Micah, and Isaiah, Ezekiel's early prophecies sound a similar note of warning of the coming destruction. However, after Jerusalem falls to the Babylonians and its people are taken captive, Ezekiel's focus shifts more fully to God's promises of restoration. We will now read Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 2 through 4, and verses 7 through 16. Human being, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy. Tell them, the shepherds, that Adonai Elohim says, "Woe to the shepherds of Israel who feed themselves. Shouldn't the shepherds feed the sheep? You eat the choice meat, you clothe yourselves with the wool, and you slaughter the best of the herd, but you don't feed the sheep. You don't strengthen the weak, heal the sick, bandage the broken, bring back the outcasts, or seek the lost. On the contrary, you tyrannized them with crushing force. So they were scattered without a shepherd and became food for every wild animal. Verse 7. Shepherds, hear the word of Adonai. As I live, Adonai Elohim swears, because my sheep have become prey, my sheep have become food for every wild animal, since there was no shepherd, since my shepherds didn't look for my sheep, and instead my shepherds fed themselves, but not my sheep. Therefore, shepherds, hear the word of Adonai. Adonai Elohim says, I am against the shepherds. I demand that they hand my sheep back to me. I will not allow them to feed the sheep, and they won't feed themselves either. I will rescue my sheep from their mouths. They will be food for them no longer. For here is what Adonai Elohim says, I am taking over. I will search for my sheep and look after them myself. Just as a shepherd looks after his flock when he finds himself among his scattered sheep, so I will look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered when it was cloudy and dark. I will bring them back from those peoples, gather them from those countries, and return them to their own land. Then I will let them feed on the mountains of Israel, by the streams, and in all the livable places of the land. I will have them feed in good pastures. Their grazing ground will be on the high mountains of Israel. They will rest in good grazing grounds and feed in rich pastures on Israel's mountains. Yes, I will pasture my sheep, and I will let them rest, says Adonai Elohim. I will seek the lost, bring back the outcasts, bandage the broken, and strengthen the sick. But the fat and the strong I will destroy. I will feed them with judgment. Compare God's assessment of the corrupt leaders of Israel with his own shepherding. How does their treatment of the weakest sheep contrast with his methods? Well, instead of walking with or according to God, they walk in opposition to him. Even as bad as they have been, so as to be compared to Sodom, the Lord still was reaching out to them in hopes of turning them away from their wickedness. In God's renewed plan for his people, they would be back in their land. Jerusalem would be restored, and the temple would be rebuilt. The festivals God gave would again be celebrated, and the land would again be divided equally among the people as their inheritance. See Ezekiel 47, verses 13 to Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 29. It seems obvious that God's intention was that his plan for his people, as first given to Moses and the people of Israel after their rescue from Egypt, would be restarted with the return of his people from captivity. This included concern for the weakest members of society, as well as those who might be considered outsiders. How important is it to you that our God is a God who offers second chances? And more, even to his people who have done wrong after having had the chance to make better choices. For me, it shows his love for each and every one of us. We each are sometimes sheep, but sometimes we are shepherds also. If we are hearing this message, there is time to heed it. We hope you enjoyed our review of today's quarterly lesson. Please visit us online to see what other services we offer and to become involved in the conversation within our forum. If you're also looking for groups in your area that are studying with us, we can provide information for you to contact them. If you're looking to find or purchase materials we reference in our podcast, videos, or PDFs, please visit us online at www.3am-ministry.org. We look forward to connecting with you online in the future and in God's kingdom.
Thank you for joining us today. To find out more about our ministry, listen to older podcasts, read additional articles, join our forum, access printable PDFs, or order your own published quarterly booklet, please visit us online at www.3am-ministry.org. Have a blessed and prosperous day.